We've all had days where it feels like the world is aligned against you. Days where even the smallest annoyances can feel like Chinese water torture because they're being amplified by larger underlying problems. Falling Down opens with William Defense Foster enduring one of these days. But instead of popping a Xanax and keeping his head down, Bill decides to defy his normal routine and wage war against the injustices he perceives to be destroying his world. From the first minute of Joel Schumacher's film, it's evident that the environment of Bill is just as important to the story as the man himself. Throughout the course of Bill's odyssey through post-Cold War America, one line is repeated more than any other.
Where do you think you're going?
Going home.
Hey!
The home that Bill has in mind is the one by the pier and ice cream parlor. The home he lived in with his wife and daughter, the home he would go to after a hard day's work. He believes that if he can escape LA traffic and physically return to that house, he'll be able to reclaim his former life. But Bill doesn't believe he's responsible for losing that life. He believes that it was stolen from him by a quickly degenerating American society built on deceptive advertising and people like this.
I want breakfast.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm really sorry.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm really sorry too.
You can see this belief through Bill's appearance. He rolls with a 50s flat top and glasses, he wears a white shirt and black tie. He's a man frozen in time. But his style becomes the only connection he has to the picturesque family man ideal of previous American decades. The wife, child, and white picket fence have all vanished. Even the job that society used to value has been eradicated by the Soviet collapse and subsequent peace dividend. Falling Down investigates Bill's convictions about his own life, and the investigation is not conducted solely through our main character. We're also introduced to an LA detective by the name of Prendergast, who's portrayed brilliantly by Robert Duvall as always. His range is matched by very few other actors in Hollywood. Prendergast has a number of similarities with William Foster, the most notable being their shared loss of a child. Bill's through divorce, Prendergast through sudden infant death syndrome. But aside from personal loss, Prendergast also shares Bill's feelings of alienation. Prendergast is a soft-spoken, good-mannered, old-school detective. The department around him has transformed into the opposite. He's now forced to work alongside Patrick Bateman wannabes and a chief who resents his straight-laced demeanor.
Hey, Paul!
So Falling Down places these two forgotten men next to each other and uses their vastly different behaviors to make a timeless point about how we should react if we ever find ourselves cast out by the new norm. After leaving his car in LA traffic, breaking away from the flow of society, Defense becomes hypersensitive to societal changes that he would probably ignore in times past, the first example being the convenience store encounter. He can no longer stand quiet as the owner refuses to give him change that they both know he can offer, and he can no longer pay prices he considers to be exploitative. If he saw prices nowadays, he would probably just erupt with the force of an atomic bomb, and that'd be it. That'd be the end of the movie. Don't even need to see Oppenheimer. So in spectacular fashion, Bill rolls the prices back to 1965, to use his own words, and the entire batting practice is therapeutic for Bill. For the first time in his life, he feels like he's regaining control over the system he believes is aligned against him. And the genius of the writing and Michael Douglas's performance is that it's easy to relate to Bill's frustration on a visceral level. When I go to a baseball game and get asked to pay $14 for a beer, there's a part of me that wants to put on a white shirt and black tie and get a flat top. So even though Bill's rebellion is criminal, it doesn't sever your connection with the character. As Bill's journey continues, he encounters a wide array of different American inadequacies highlighted by Schumacher. And these inadequacies are represented by very over-the-top characters, which makes sense given the role they play in the story. So we meet petty gang members, entitled beggars, NPC fast food employees, neo-Nazis, and of course, rich arrogant golfers. All of these people, in one way or another, violate his perception of what an ideal society should look like: orderly, respectful, and honest. They took the America of 1960, the America he thinks he belongs to, and morphed it into a highly saturated, fraudulent mess. Prendergast approaches his situation very differently. The sticker on his desk says it all: "I'm just happy to be here." His coworkers give him shit, and he smiles it off. His paranoid wife commands him around, and he calmly talks her down. He's not a confrontational person. His tendency is to shrink when confronted with conflict. But as Bill's trail of carnage grows, Prendergast rises to the occasion. It's almost like he absorbs some of the resentful energy left behind by Defense and uses it to his advantage. He stands up to his coworker and his wife, but he does it in a calculated way without any externalities. Bill Foster could never be described as a hero because he puts no limits on his rage. Everyone he suspects to be part of the system becomes a target. And this culminates in the pool scene where Bill complains about becoming not economically viable as he waves a gun right next to a little girl's head. He becomes so captured by his own grievances that he fails to acknowledge his own faults. This is the key point of the film. Eventually, Bill Foster does return home, and of course it's empty because his wife and child ran away scared, but he stays for a little bit to take a trip down memory lane, and it's the best scene of the movie. At first, the videotape is a vindication. Look how good things were. If only my company didn't fire me, if only my society didn't degenerate, I would still have that life and I would be happy. But then the mood turns. He watches his former self lash out at his wife over a stupid horse he bought for his daughter, and we get this incredible moment where Bill looks away from the screen with his cracked glasses, and you can read his thoughts. He recognizes, just for a moment, that he is responsible for what his life has become. Unfortunately, this realization is fleeting and does not destroy his victimhood narrative. When he reaches the pier, he scolds his ex-wife for betraying her vows and explains to Prendergast that it was the lies of society that made him a bad guy and not his own actions. And he takes that belief to his grave. Falling Down was filmed during the 1992 LA riots, and images from that event reflect a society that seemed to be teetering on the edge of full-scale meltdown. So it was a fitting time for Joel Schumacher to tell a story about how one deals with feeling alienated and forgotten by society. Different arguments can be made about the problems Schumacher highlights in Falling Down and how they compare from a severity perspective. The larger point is that every society will have its own problems. It could be economic, political, cultural. At one point or another, you're not going to be 100% thrilled about what's going on around you. It's very easy to empathize with Bill when he describes how he became not economically viable. And of course, there's another character who shares his feelings. And sadly, many people could hear something similar in coming years as AI becomes more prevalent. But bad breaks don't give you a mandate to make things worse, which is what Prendergast tries to tell Bill at the end of the film. William Foster is one of the great modern characters because you can tell he isn't a bad man. He is not the character played by Frederick Forrest, that is for sure. He's a troubled man corrupted by resentment and a longing for a life that has long since passed him by. Now, the other side of the coin is Prendergast, who changes his mind and remains a detective, knowing full well that his environment, at home and in the office, is going to reject his decision. He accepts that the world is unfair, but decides he's going to do everything in his ability to make it better, because that's his responsibility. So the case of Falling Down is certainly not just accept the things you wish were different. Confrontation is needed at times, as we see with Prendergast. But when outside problems blind you to your own problems, serious trouble is on the horizon. And few movies communicate that in a more entertaining way than Joel Schumacher's Falling Down. Thank you so much for stopping by, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe for more videos like it in the future. And if you've seen Falling Down, definitely leave your thoughts in the comments. It's a movie ripe for debate, that is for sure. But have a fantastic rest of your day. I will talk to you soon.